What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really help support the channel. So let's start this video with the reigning Arnold champion and the former Miss Olympia Derek Lunsford. Now, not the first time, Derek has said during this prep that the man is feeling stronger than ever before. And this certainly has something to do with the fact that he's doing back-to-back preps. And that too for the very first time in his entire pro career. So Derek is about to do the third show in just a matter of a few months. And it is so unbelievable to even think that his squats were the main talking point on every bodybuilding media platform out there, that there is just no way he's gonna build them back up. From the Olympia to this year's Arnold. And the man just did that. He showed up at his all-time best. And he beat the reigning Miss Olympia Samson Dauda. And that too very convincingly. So Derek's squats are looking extremely good. Chris Aceto, his coach, he has been very smart about the fact that when Derek needs to push harder and when to back off. And that is why I believe this again is gonna be a very good package from Derek at this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro. Maybe this is gonna be even better than what we saw at the Arnold, Ohio this year. Now for all the people out there who have been saying that you can never peak multiple times per year, and that too 100% to absolute perfection. Well, the fact is, we just saw a guy named Akeem Williams who peaked 6 times in one calendar year, working with Chris Aceto. And the competition at this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro, they must all be hoping that Derek comes in off. He misses his mark on the day of the show, because Derek at his all-time best, the way he showed up at this past Arnold, he's gonna be quite unbeatable here. The man is just way too aesthetic, way too pretty, and way too complete for everyone. And considering the fact that Derek just beat the reigning Miss Olympia at the Arnold, Samson Dauda, and that too so convincingly, in comparison to that, this just isn't a very difficult show for Derek to win, considering the fact that none of these other top 2 guys, Nick and Martin, they have ever beaten Derek before. I'm not saying it's gonna be a walk in the park, but the fact is, if Derek shows up at his 100%, he's walking away with that win and $100,000. Next up, we have a 3-week short physique update from a guy who said he was hoping that Derek would jump into this year's Pittsburgh Pro, and the man got his wish granted. So this is Martin-Fitzwater, exactly 3 weeks out of his first show of the year. Now we only saw some of these stage shots of Martin taken at a very different angle. So it's kind of hard to tell how big Martin is gonna be compared to his Olympia or Prague Pro look from last year. But one thing is absolutely guaranteed, that this guy is gonna be so damn ripped and absolutely peeled to the bone. So his crab most muscular is gonna scare a lot of people out there, and that too on the stage. And if you guys remember last year's New York Pro, he put some pressure on Nick Walker to do that same variation as him of that most muscular shot. And later the judges specifically said that Nick should never do that. The crab most muscular again. That is how good Martin-Fitzwater was, and still is, in that particular shot. Still, we have 3 more weeks to go till Martin has to step on the stage. And that is plenty of time to fine-tune things, get even more crispy. And the fact is, Martin is walking around, almost ready to step on the stage. At this point, all he has to do is manipulate the water, and he's gonna be ready in 24 hours time. Now we have established this fact, that the weight is kind of irrelevant for a guy like Martin, and Stefan, his coach, also knows that. But on the flip side, we know size always rules the men's open bodybuilding. So he's gonna have to be bigger than the Olympia last year. And the people who have seen him up close, they are all saying that he looks in so much better conditioning than he was at the Olympia with 3 more weeks to go. Which is kind of insane just to think, because he probably was the most perfectly peaked guy out of those Olympia top 6 last year. So this is gonna be absolutely bonkers. And this also goes to show us why the man is so confident and why he wanted to go up against Derek Lunsford. Guys, we have a limited time offer. If you buy any flavor of Bloodshot, you are gonna get a free Dying Breed t-shirt. The discount code is on the screen right now, and use the code FAZI10 to get 10% extra discount. Next up, we have the off-season physique update from Brett Wilkin. Extremely impressive look for a guy who had to take 3 weeks totally off from training, from the gear, from dieting as well, because he had pneumonia. Now, I don't think Brett is focusing on just doing the Olympia in this 2025 calendar year. He looks way too lean, considering the fact that this is his off-season And it is gonna be so good to see him jump into the show, maybe one of the shows, right before the Olympia this year. Not just to have a go at the Olympia qualification for next year, but also to test how him and Stefan work out. Now, as far as I can remember, Brett was working with Matt Jensen even before turning pro, even before 2021, and together both these guys did very well. Brett was able to win a pro show back in 2022. Now, for those of you guys who do not know, he won the Legion Sports last year to secure his Olympia spot for this year. But the biggest critique that he received last year was that he lost too much size, too much of his wow factor in the last couple of weeks leading into that show. Now this Brett, who stepped on the stage for guest posing yesterday, that physique carries a lot of wow factor, and this has been an ongoing trend for Brett for quite some years now, where the man looks so huge during the off-season and even during the prep, but he loses quite a lot of size, especially when he's close to the competition. Now for a big show like the Olympia, if Brett doesn't bring more size, I'm gonna say no disrespect towards him, but he's gonna be lost in this year's Olympia lineup, especially against a guy like Andrew Jacked, who has that enormous size. Even though Brett has this ability to get way more shredded than a guy like Andrew Jacked. But that being said, size also plays a major factor in the men's open. So Brett is gonna try his level best to put on another 5 to 7 pounds, maybe 10, compared to the Legion Sports last year. And that was his plan for the Olympia this year. Now the Olympia is a big man show. Just for the record, Hakeem Williams was top 10 last year, and Hakeem looked so damn insane. And that is how difficult it is for some of these guys who are about to make their Olympia debut to get into that top 10. This is Goodvito just 3 weeks until he steps on the biggest bodybuilding stage of his life, the mighty Pittsburgh Pro. Now Goodvito was able to earn his Olympia spot by winning the Arnold Brazil a few weeks back. But not gonna lie, he lost a bit of his hype, especially in the bigger contest, because of the fact that how deep the lineup is at this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro. There are some areas of his physique, the legs in particular, which are the most obvious one, that they're gonna be some of the best in that show. But there are some other major parts in his physique, for instance the arms and the shoulders, especially in those side shots. The shoulders not looking so good and not so capped and 3D in that front lat spread, and that is why people think that he's gonna get exposed in all those areas by 5 guys at the very least at this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro. And the way William Bonac showed up at this year's Detroit Pro, people are speculative whether Goodvito is even gonna make top 5 at this year's Pittsburgh Pro. Now the only theory that works in Vito's favor is that they purposefully held back from going full throttle for this year's Arnold Brazil, as these guys already knew that they were gonna win that show anyway, and they're gonna bring a much more competitive look here in Pittsburgh against guys like Derek, Nick, Martin, Michael Crizo, William Bonac. So that right there is a very competitive top 6. Now Goodvito coming in a lot better. That might very well be true, because we saw the same thing happen last year from the Arnold Brazil to Detroit Pro. So what are your expectations from Goodvito for this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro? So will this be the year when Quinton Beastwood lives up to his potential and shows up at his all-time best? Now, we have heard this so many times from so many people out there that he has one of the best genetics in the modern bodybuilding in terms of the placings, and this statement, that so far hasn't been true, as Quinton has been competing as a pro for almost 6 years now and still searching for his first pro win. But as a tall guy with such a big frame, it takes a lot of time to properly fill out. Now Quinton has to go up against some Olympians in his first show this year. So I think he's most likely prepping for this upcoming Tampa Pro, where we're gonna have Justin Shire, John Del Rosa, and most likely John Jewett. So can Quinton Beastwood beat them all? Well, absolutely he can. The man is so gifted in terms of his overall shape, his insane aesthetics, the way this guy flows. He takes up so much space on the stage, plus the conditioning that we saw from Quinton last year versus John Jewett at Toronto Pro. That wasn't as comparable because John was so much sharper and so much detailed, but still, Quinton was the one who came out on top. Toronto Pro was also the last show of the year for Quinton, and after a very disappointing New York Pro, he was kind of able to redeem himself because no one had him placing in the top 5 for Toronto Pro either. Now the man looks very impressive for 14 weeks out, big and aesthetic, but he always looks extremely impressive 3 months out. Hopefully he can keep a lot of that mass as he gets deeper and deeper into this prep. Now Quinton at his 100% He's gonna make it to this year's Olympia stage. He has the goods to beat a lot of these big names. And we have to keep in mind, he has had more than one close call earlier in his career, where he placed second in these Olympia qualifiers. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.